Hey there! Today we're going to be talking about this pen. This is a Desiderata pen's Soubriquet. Now I know that people love Soubriquets and other Desiderata pens with the Zebra G nibs, but I'm not a flex nib person. So Pierre contacted me, asked me if I wanted to review some of his pens. I said absolutely. He lent me a Soubriquet, he lent me a couple of Doomkey. They're very nice. And today we'll look at the Soubriquet. Now, because I'm not a flex writer, he put on the number 6 Jowo nibs, which I like a lot. You may want to buy it with a flex nib, that is perfectly possible, etc. But if you don't like flex and you're like me, you don't really want flex, you just want a pen for normal everyday writing, bear in mind that you can have a number 6 Jowo nib on it. So, the Soubriquets have been around for quite a while. I think they're pretty pens. It's a nice model. It's a little bit thinner than what I would usually go for, but to give you a sneak preview, I like this so much that I told Pierre it's not coming back. So tell me what I owe you. I like it that much. The material for me is great, cool filling system. I'll get into all that, but I find it very comfortable. And there we are. So I'm going to cover the parts of the pen. I'll do a writing sample. I'll tell you what I like about it, what I don't like about it. Let's get started. The Desiderata Soubriquet in antique amber, which I think is a very nice finish. These go for $350 US. They have a ball clip made in-house, which I'll show you in just a second. You can either get your choice of a Zebra G nib or a Jowo steel number 6 nib, which is what's on here. There is a pump piston, which I'll show you, not how it operates because there's ink in the pen right now, but I'll show you how it works. These are made in limited quantities because there are limited quantities excuse me, of the materials, and that's pretty much it. So let's talk about the pen. You can see it here next to a Pilot Metropolitan, so it's a little bit longer and it's maybe a tiny bit girthier. The section definitely is a bit girthier. Okay, parts of the pen. Finial on top, same material as the rest of the pen. I always really like that, and that might just be me, but I really like it. Then we have the clip made in-house, and I can tell you these work very well in pen cases, etc. Neither too tight nor too loose, just perfect. We have a lot of threads. The Doomka pen, which is a slightly girthier version of the Soubriquet, has rapid threads, which allow it to be uncapped really quickly. The Soubriquet has more threads, but I don't mind. I'm usually not in such a hurry that I need to uncap a pen in 0.25 seconds. Now, there is a blind engraving here on the barrel. It says Desiderata Pen Company Soubriquet 2023. I like these years, then you know what year your pen's made. I don't know, maybe it's weird, it's just me. Now, this barrel is not all barrel, it's actually part ink reservoir and part blind cap. Now the question for you is, where's the blind cap? If you look at the swirls, you can tell, but there is not a gap, there's not even something for my nail to catch on. Let me unscrew that, and you'll see how good the craftsmanship is. I bet you could not see. Again, there's nothing. There's nothing. Okay, so here we go. Unscrew that bit. It's quite a large blind cap, but it houses this big, let me just unscrew the cap as well. It houses this system. So I can't operate it right now because there's ink in it. It's a very simple system. You put the pen in a bottle of ink. You press this, it automatically plunges back, very simple, and you draw up ink. And that's pretty much all there is to it. And if you want something that's kind of steampunk, you can write with the pen like this. But if you don't, then you just take the blind cap after filling the pen, you screw that back on there, and then there you go. And then you have this pen. Section, tapers down, flares out, nice, smooth, it's not sharp. And these threads are something else. Very fine, beautifully made. You don't feel there is not a sharp edge on those threads. And I really want to point that out because that's cool craftsmanship. Nicely sized pen, and this one kind of posts, sort of posts. But I don't think it's really made to be posted. I find it very comfortable unposted. Nice longer section, and again with those threads you don't feel, very comfy. The nib, as I said, Zebra G if you like flex. I'm not a flex guy, so I'm very happy with this number 6 steel Jowo nib. Has the Desiderata logo on it. Pierre has ground these. I find them very pleasant to use. Kind of a fine italic now. And the standard, I think it's ABS feed or whatever, it's some sort of, it's not ebonite. Pleasant writer. Speaking of which, how about we write? Let me just grab the notepad, and then there we go with the. And I apologize, I tried to match up ink and pen because that's something that Pierre appreciates, and this so washable blue would not have worked. I think that this is a pretty good match. We have here the Soubriquet. This is Lamy Mango that I thought would be a good match, and then the nib is a fine Jowo. Now the downside to this ink is that it doesn't always show up super clearly on camera, but I think this looks pretty, the light today is pretty good for an S.B.R.E. Brown video. I said it before you would. Let's do some writing. What I do like about this ink, the Lamy Mango, because I'm actually quite partial to it, I think it's a very nice ink. It's also a transparent ink, and to some people that doesn't matter, but to me it does, because in a pen like this, you can see it down there, you can actually look through it. I've been using this pen a lot, so it's getting a bit low, but it's transparent, so you can actually see through the swirls, through the barrel, through the ink. I like that. I might be very weird. Please let me know in the comments. I'm not the only one who enjoys that. Okay, fast writing. Again, what I like about this ink more than, say, a Gerbin Bouton d'Or, which is a beautiful bright yellow, is that that ink is so light that you can't read it back on the page. Now here you see if I go very fast, it starts to get drier, and I have found that with this particular nib, it can get a bit drier. So it's not a big deal. You can always prime the feed a little bit, and again, this is starting to run a little low on ink. But if you don't go super fast, if you write at a normal pace, you actually have a very pleasant pen. And that was a little skip. I do really like that because of this italic grind Pierre does. I'm trying to do this without any pressure, but also in such a way that you can see it. There is a nice natural line variation that I think is quite nice. So even without any pressure, you get nice line variation in your everyday writing, which I think just lends a bit of extra pizzazz, or as I like to say, pierzazz, to your pen. Nobody ever says that. Okay, reverse writing, for those of you who enjoy such a thing, is an option. Right, yeah, more or less. This one in particular has a nib that actually works fairly well upside down, except now, of course, it refuses. I was doing that the other day and everything was fine. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to prime the feed a little bit. I think it's just running a little, starting to run a little low. Okay, so turn it upside down, it's actually quite smooth. Okay, now it has ceased to write entirely. I'm not even going to go there. I have not had this happen. It hasn't run out of ink in any way, and it hasn't actually done that as I was playing with the pen. So I'm going to leave it at this. What I will tell you is that I think it's just getting too low. The upside down writing, the reverse writing, was actually quite pleasant because of the grind. It's ground down a little bit that way, so it was pretty nice. It was actually quite smooth, and that's all there's to it. Again, I've written a lot with this. It has not run dry. This was a weird aberration. I enjoy it. Let's talk about likes and dislikes. Now, what do I like? What do I not like about the Soubriquet? There are a couple of things I really like. I like the way it looks. It's a very nice, classic, refined design, and I like it a lot. To me, it's very comfortable. I typically enjoy larger pens, girthier pens. I find them more comfortable. This one worked for my hands straight away. So even if you have larger hands, it works for me. Now, bear in mind, there is the Doomka, which is a model that looks a lot like the Soubriquet, but it is girthier. And I will do a fountain pen shootout between these two. So if you have really big hands, you really want something bigger, there is a Doomka. You just may not be able to get that in this material, but it was a limited material anyway. So anyway, I'll get to that. Great filling system. That pump, it works very well. It sucks up ink very well. And it's easy to use, easy to clean as well. I found it very pleasant, and I will say a nice testament to the skills of the pen maker. Where's the blind cap? Where does the barrel end, and where does the blind cap start? I bet you can't tell. I'll unscrew it a little bit, and now you can, right? It's there. But once this is closed, you don't even really see it. Now you know where it is. But before that, I bet you were struggling. It's just really well made. It's a well put together piece. $350, that's not cheap. Let's be fair, it's not cheap. Steel nib, it's not cheap. But I do think you get a very, very well made pen. And I can't overemphasize, nothing is sharp. These threads are so wonderfully made. You barely even feel that they're there. And I'm not exaggerating. I'm running my finger across. You barely feel any threads. This flared out, what do you call that, flanged base, it's not sharp. On top, it's not sharp. It's very well made. It's very, very comfortable. If you love posting pens, this kind of sort of posts, but not very comfortably. But again, I think it's big enough, even for larger hands. So all that, I think, is great. It's a very nice writer too. I've really enjoyed how it writes. So that's great. And what I like a lot about them is that beyond the nib and the feed, everything is made in-house. So yes, you pay a little bit more, but you don't get yet another run-of-the-mill clip that you can find on a million pens worldwide. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I think you know what I mean. Even the clip is made in-house. The nib and the feed, yes, they're Jowo nibs or Zebra G nibs if you so prefer. Pierre doesn't make those, but everything else you see, made in-house, including the filling system. And I think that's really neat, and I think you have to take that into consideration when you are thinking about the price, right? It's not just a bunch of pieces taken off the shelf. It's not a pen put together from OEM pieces in China that is then sold with a 4,000% profit, as I have seen happen from other pen companies. It's all made in-house, and I think it is understandable that you pay for that. I also really like, and that may be something for me, but I really like that he stamps the year on the pen, so you know what year the pen was made in. I don't know, I just think that's fun. I don't know why, but I do. So I think it's cool, and if you don't like the material, there are many other materials to pick from. Things I don't like so much, well, I've kind of alluded to it, they're not cheap. $350 is not cheap, but then I also think you, like as I said, you get a handmade pen. I mean, I know handmade is, I mean, there's a lathe involved. It's not like this is chiseled from a solid block of, I mean, I get that, but still, there's a lot of skill involved. I can't do this. Can you do this? No. Well, there we are. So that's it. Beyond that, as I said, I ended up claiming this one for myself. So clearly I love it. I haven't run into any real issues. If you want me to split hairs, what I will say is sometimes I think I'm just going to try and clean the barrel on the inside a bit well, because sometimes the ink, it sticks a bit. Now, of course, it won't on command, but sometimes it can get stuck a bit and then the nib gets dry. But then you gently tap it and then it writes again. So that might be a thing if you really want me to split hairs. That's really all I have. I think the rest works fine. Beautiful pen, lovely writer. I don't have anything else. So I hope this was useful. Thank you, Pierre, for lending me the pen. Again, sorry you're not getting this back. But there we are. I hope this was useful. I'm glad to see you later. Bye-bye.